Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mistover video, where I'm sharing a new video every day for the month of October. Now, let me recap a little bit for those of you who still have questions. This series will be only for the month of October. And yes, there are new videos on the weekends as well. In the end, we're gonna end up with 31 new videos. And they range from different things like Ted Bundy, Jack the Ripper, some kidnappings that I've been covering lately. So if you missed any of the videos, I have a playlist that you can click on the top of the screen or in the description box down below. Go ahead and check there and catch up. If you're new, welcome, and I hope you enjoy this series. Today we're gonna do the third video on the series I started recently about killers and captors and the different kind of kidnappers and what they have in common. Today in particular, we're gonna talk about the girl in the box. Kidnapping victim Colleen Stan was held captive for 7 years in horrific conditions. So, today we're going to talk about how she survived this ordeal. Just so you know, every year about 100,000 people, specifically children, are abducted in the United States. Sometimes the kidnapper is a stranger. In other cases, the crime is committed by a trusted authority figure. It could be a bus driver, minister, or even a relative. The psychological relationship between captive and captor is complicated, to say the least. And it's still today, as it was for 20-year-old case you were wondering, was an experienced hitchhiker. And she felt safe getting in his vehicle because he was with his wife and young child. Despite of what she thought, she was wrong. Cameron drove her to an isolated area, held a knife to her throat, Colleen's throat, and put a 20-pound insulated box over her head. Colleen Stan could hardly breathe. Once they arrived at his place in Red Bluff, California, he chained Colleen to the basement ceiling by her wrists and physically abused her for days at a time. He soon began keeping her in the head box or coffin-like carton under the bed where he and his wife slept, letting Colleen out for only 1 hour a day. Eventually, this guy, Cameron, coerced Colleen Stan into signing a contract agreeing to be, are you ready, his slave. Right. He made her believe that if she escaped, an organization, every time I get to this part, an organization of white slave owners known as the company would come after her and her family. Later on, after this was over, there were a few interviews that with her where she explained that he would tell her, "I'm in control. Colleen no longer exists. You are now gay. You are my slave." Now, Colleen fell so completely under his control that at one point he posed as her boyfriend, and they visited her family and stayed overnight. Throughout her captivity, Colleen never attempted to escape or contact anyone who might help her. She just wanted to be a quote-unquote good slave. Her behavior experience just don't understand all the threats and all the torture and just all the mind control that goes on. Your abductor just conditions you by torture and rape and abuse and threats. And this, end quote, this is what later on Colleen said about her behavior. This guy, Cameron, held Colleen until his wife, Janice, learned of his plans to take 5 more slaves, and she decided to free Colleen. She did that while Cameron was at work. Janice put Colleen on a bus home, explaining that her husband was not part of any company. Now, as part of this syndrome is the need to contact the abductor. And Colleen actually contacted Cameron for months and never came forward to the authorities. Cameron ended up being arrested, not because Colleen changed her mind, but because his wife, Janice, turned him in, alerting police about the kidnapping and of a murder that he committed in 1976. Janice, Cameron's wife, and the one that released Colleen, was granted immunity for testifying against her husband, who was sentenced to 104 years in prison. Kind of tying to this case, I'm going to give you another example. And then to end this video, we're going to talk about the Stockholm Syndrome, which I'm pretty sure I'm butchering. This story is about after school terror, to be honest, where a young boy accepted a ride home and became a pedophile's captive for 7 years as well. But then he dared to escape. 7-year-old Steven Stayner of Merced, California, was walking home from school on December 4th, 1972, when a man in a white Buick pulled up and offered the boy a ride. The driver was Kenneth Barno. He was 41 years old, convicted pedophile and rapist. He took Steven to a remote cabin in Cathy's Valley and kept him there for 7 years. wasn't until this second guy, Kenneth, brought another boy home. This one was 5 years old, and his name was Timmy White. That is when Steven knew he had to get out. While the captor was out one day, Steven escaped, taking the little boy, Timmy White, with him. They hitchhiked for about 40 miles to a police station in Ukiah, California. Stayner would go on to marry, and Steven Stayner would go on to marry and have a family before dying in a motorcycle accident in 1989 when he was only 24 years old. Kenneth Barnell, the kidnapper, served 5 years of an 8-year sentence, and in 2003 he was arrested again for trying to buy a 4-year-old boy for $500. He ended up dying in prison in 2008. So, I guess the question is, how come these people put up with all this? Why would they stay? Why would they believe what the captor said? Well, we're going to talk about the syndrome that both of them experienced. But there is a violent connection. And I guess it's kind of random, but I thought I'd still share it. The brother of a kidnapping victim became a murderer. We talk about Steven Stayner's, remember? Well, his older brother, Gary, he got some kind of a deal, and he admitted to killing 3 women in Yosemite National Park in 1999. He was questioned about the connection between his own crimes and the captivity of his brother. Gary said he thought that Steven's kidnapper had gotten off too easy, and that he was still angry at the hit-and-run driver who subsequently took his brother's life in 1989. Gary, Steven's brother, was given the death penalty. So another consequence of a terrible crime committed by this Cameron Hooker guy. supreme power, leveling threats of torture or death if disobeyed. Now, what triggers this? According to experts, any small act of kindness on the part of the captor, or even the absence of violence, can seem like a sign of friendship between the captor and the prisoner. What happens to these victims after they are hopefully freed? Well, freed victims often mourn the loss of their captors. They often defend their actions to others and try to contact them. Lastly, there was this famous case in 1974. Remember, we talk about it, newspaper heiress Patty Hearst. Yesterday's video. Well, if you missed it, she was kidnapped by a group of political extremists. Within weeks, she joined the organization, helped it rob a bank, and even became engaged to a member. So let's leave it there for today. I think we have a lot more information about this syndrome and why some of the victims behave the way they do. And it's almost impossible for us to understand them. This is something that our brain does as a defense mechanism in a state of panic, in a state of, matter of death or life. Now, not all victims suffer from this syndrome. Some do. When they're triggered by some of the examples that I share with you today. But not all victims. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the mind of a serial liar. Also would be related to abduction, where the guy, the perpetrator, in the end said, quote, "I made the police look stupid. I was out to wreck Texas law enforcement." And kind of a completely different scenario compared to today's. What do you think about this? Have you met or known of anybody around you who suffered this syndrome? Did they overcome this? I'd like to know. Thankfully, I haven't met anybody who went through something like that. But I do know that, sadly, and according to the numbers I shared with you in the beginning, this is way too common here in the States. And little by little, we learn more and more about it. Thanks for being here today, guys. I appreciate it. Please come back tomorrow for a new video. Talk to you guys soon.